calling from the hotlines? Why he keep giving me hotlines? I'm a star, how could I not shine? How many ladies in the house? How many ladies in the house without a spouse? Something in your blouse got me feeling so aroused. What you about? On that independent shit, trade it all for a husband and some kids. You ever wonder what it all really mean? You wonder if you ever find your dreams.
Okay, today is, what is it, June the 30th, the last day of June. The first half of the year is over with. That's crazy. You are now tuned into the #1 show in the world for comprehensive barbershop talk, Beer in a Conversation, or today, because I'm joined by two lovely women over there, I would maybe call it wine in a conversation under the circumstances. So lots been going on lately. Of course, as you know, last week the court struck down. I'm trying to get my computer together. When that link comes in, let me know too, by the way. The court overruled, the High Court, Supreme Court, overruled, is that, okay, thank you. Overruled Roe versus Wade. And there's a lot of tension in the country right now as a result of that with regard to women's rights being under attack and women having the right to decide what they want to do with their body. And so yeah, once again, it is a very polarizing time in American society, and it is very sad because I felt like the country was finally beginning to come together, because there's a general disdain for the way that, for the most part, the administration in general is handling of the economy, inflation, allocating funds to foreign governments, things of that nature, when we need aid right here domestically. And so, Lord have mercy, my phone is ringing. So y'all bear with me. In the meantime, I've got two lovely young women here, Miss Laura and Pash, who I met. And I found out that now you're going to be on our team. I won't say what team, but did I hear that right, Pash?
What
that,
team?
Did Dominique talk to you?
Yes.
Okay, so, all right. So, yeah, Miss Laura, will you talk to the people a little bit about what it is that you do in your business, and you do a phenomenal job. I go and see her personally, so go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Laura Quinn, and I have a spa. I am an esthetician. This is my third life. So I'm an esthetician in this life. And
So, all right.
I
So,
also
yeah,
do
Miss-
wellness, reflexology, foot detoxes, vagina steams for women, a lot of things, touch therapy, everything you would find in the spa, that's what I do.
I didn't know about the steaming. What all is the, I mean, can I ask, since we are going to talk about abortion at some point, can I ask what, I mean, we're talking about vagina, so I mean,
Said it out loud.
yeah. What is that? Or do they already kind of know what that is?
Most women do. What it is we take herbs and we brew them, and then we have them in a pot, and you sit on an open chair for the herbs to steam in your vagina.
And what is
it for?
what does it do?
It's for refreshing, tightening, resetting, balancing your pH. Sometimes I know this is a lot.
Don't let your woman get it if y'all don't want to have any kids.
What? No.
Oh, wait. Hold on. That went over my head.
Yeah,
If you're not
it's
trying to have any
fertility.
kids, don't allow your woman to get too many of them.
If you're not trying to, it was a couple double negatives in there. If you're not trying to,
Have kids.
then don't do it or do
It
it.
promotes fertility.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It promotes balancing your pH. Some women's pHs get knocked off from stress. They get knocked off from
Bacterial
sex.
vaginosis, because
Yeah,
men
all
are sleeping with other women at the same time without
Yeah,
condoms. Let's
all
just talk
kinds
about
of
it.
things.
Hmm.
By women not wiping correctly,
They teach you that in elementary school, don't they?
Yeah, they do. But
Okay. Yeah. No, that's cool. I just was okay. So if you want to have a baby, you should get vaginal steaming.
Well, they have herbs that promote that, and they have herbs that promotes not to have children too.
Okay.
So there's different ones.
Oh, well, that actually
depends on
kind
the
of.
herbalist. They have herbs for
Ah.
men to lower their.
And I'm sure that because it's
testosterone so they won't have children.
but wouldn't that be conflicting for a man's vitality if his testosterone is lower?
Probably so. But if you have like 10 kids and you don't want any more.
You might need to get a vasectomy. Or are they getting rid of that too? Is that something that's included in this thing here? Okay. Now I'm learning. You know, I don't know a whole lot about any of this stuff. I'm somewhat of a novice, and I know that there's a whole world out there that is I think what did I was listening to Bob Proctor, and he said something about the learned will inherit the earth while the learners learned meaning is finite. So those who continue to learn will inherit the earth while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to live in a world that no longer exists. So I'm a traditionalist. So I find myself more on the learned, and now I'm trying to learn. So that's good. That's good. Pash, will you tell us exactly what you do? Because you got so many different things. Just whatever you want to tell us. I mean, because you got a big rap sheet of things that you do, and that's a good thing. Yeah. Is she's on? Just tell us. We wanna promote what it is that you do. Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Can I? Or is it this? Okay. Can I use this one? Hello world, I'm Pash. To break down my big rap sheet, I'm a PR and marketing gal and a creative event coordinator. So anything that you need, whether it comes to the creative side or the business side, you need marketing for your business, you need creative sets done, you need production assistance, I'm your gal. And also in my spare time, I am a rising actress and model. So in addition to planning your event, I can also be the spokesperson for your campaign. Anything we can get done, we're gonna get done because I'm that girl.
Yeah, I think you should go to. Do you want to share your page?
Yeah.
It is a nice page.
Which page? My website or my Instagram?
Well, I have the
Or my
Facebook. Well, I don't. Does it get better?
Yeah, it does get better. My Instagram gets lots better.
Well, hold on. Well, go ahead and tell that to me so I can write that down.
Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
PASHBASIREN. If you're into Greek mythology, you get it.
Okay. All right. And Laura, do you have a website or a social media handle that they can go to?
Yeah, my website is rawsoul.org. It's RAWSOL for solar.
Okay. You're from the DMV area. You are from Ohio, Alabama, and Georgia. And then you went back to Alabama, and now you came back to Georgia. Did I get that right?
Ohio, Alabama, Georgia.
Where's Troy State?
Alabama.
Okay. I'm just a man, so what do I know? Okay. All right. So nonetheless, before we get into the topic of the show is abort mission, and we had two very enthusiastic feminists who wanted to be here, and both of them had something come up within the hour of being here, and I was looking for, it was bittersweet because I was kind of looking forward to having that dialogue with them, and then at the same time I kind of knew that they were coming for my head and had some sort of probably pseudo guillotine packed away in their bag or something like that. But The name of the show is Operation Abort Mission, and here's why. So recently I had put up a picture on my page of Oprah Winfrey and Michelle Obama, and I think that they're both very accomplished. They have so many similarities in terms of the era that they grew up in. They're baby boomers. The era they grew up in, one is born in Mississippi, one born in Chicago, but they both at some point were residing in Chicago. They're both authors. They're both brand influencers. They're both highly intelligent black women. And the reason I picked them was because there seems to be there's a lot of friction and dichotomy associated with the idea that to be a career-oriented woman, you cannot be a family woman as well. And so what I was trying to do was show two highly successful black women who are, one I would probably say is the wealthiest black woman in America, and the other one probably the most powerful, right? You know, because while President Barack Obama was the president, I got a feeling there was a lot of influence from his wife, so I would say she's the most powerful woman in America. Both very wealthy, $2.5 billion here, $100 million over there. I could probably live off of it, but I was doing that to illustrate the mission, right? So when I had been into a program with a very intelligent Muslim brother through the Department of Corrections via some mistakes that I had made, and one of the things that he asked me, it was a riddle, and he said, "What is the greatest thing that you can ever be in life?" And I couldn't figure it out, and I'm pretty good at this stuff most of the time. He said, "Yourself. That's the greatest thing you can be in life." And so what did God create us to be? The greatest thing that a man can be, it doesn't mean that he can't be great at other things. So we need to be clear about that, because we don't want to diminish talents and career aspirations of any individuals. The greatest thing that a man can be is a husband and a father. And the greatest thing that a woman can be is a wife and a mother. And when that is the vision, you see how far they went. So I was using that as a way to illustrate that you can be a career-oriented woman, to dispel the myth that you can't be a family woman. Michelle Obama is a perfect example of a woman that is a family woman, and she has said all the time during her political career that her family comes first, her husband and children come first, and at the same time, she is a career-oriented woman. In fact, her career started before Barack did, which actually dispels the myth that you have to meet a man that already has everything together. Additionally, she is a woman that exudes a very, very high level of class, and therefore, and it's extremely attractive, right? That you can be attractive and not be provocative. She embodies a whole lot. I think that she is a quintessential example in that particular case. Can you play that clip real quick where we got so much, there was a lot of back and forth discussion about that, JoJo? Thank you.
About women, well, we go after our careers so much. By the time we look up, we single. We got all these degrees. We got every degree. We got a PhD. And all we got is a DOG and no MAN.
And no MAN, right.
But the man, he can go out and get all of those credentials and do that, because here's what it is, Delvin and Justin. At the end of the day, the man makes the choice. The man makes the choice.
Isn't it the woman that chooses the man who chooses the woman?
Men decide when we gonna get married. We could do all of this. Yes, we can get every degree, and we can find the men that we may like. But at the same time, if he ain't pulling the trigger, it don't matter. It don't matter what you, and ladies, let me just break this down to you. And this is some of my friends, some of my, I'm not going to go there, people that I know. We got every degree. Don't no man care about that, because he'll go marry the girl that work at Wendy's, because she paid attention to him while we paying attention to our degrees and our terrier.
There you go.
The dog.
Okay. All right. So now you understand why I put that up. Do you think that there's any truth to that, Laura, at all?
Yeah, I think it's true. I agree with her. We do, well, you have to understand, I see both sides, because a woman has to make her own way. You don't know if you're getting married or not, and it's not guaranteed, so you have to take care of yourself. But it takes a long time to get there. You're going to college, 2 or 3 masters, doctorate, and you don't have time to think about a relationship. Because as soon as you start thinking about a relationship, then it kind of throws us off.
Sure. I think that when we had our discussion yesterday, you said something that was extremely paramount. A lot of times if you don't have a male figure, you don't know what a man looks like. There are a lot of males that are walking around, grown, old, big, tall, strong, and they're males. They're not men. Right? So part of the problem is that you don't know what a man actually looks like. You know? So the jadedness that a lot of our women deal with is a result of not knowing just that. I mean, and so they confuse a male with a man. And males, by definition of birth, they're born with a penis. Right? And so they wake up at about 12, 13, well, at least for me, about 12, 13, you start waking up in the morning with erection. You want to start using it. It happens. I get it. Right? And so it takes time to grow into being a man, and I don't even think, I've heard studies that say that the brain isn't even fully developed properly at the age of 12 or 13 or whatever, per se. Not 12 or 13, at 18, it takes until about 25 to get all of the lobes, and we actually had a psychologist on the show last week having that discussion when we did a show on mental trauma, the mental health of black men in the United States. So at any rate, Pops, did you have anything you wanted to interject on that? Do you see, is the future looking bright for you? It should, but does it? I mean, are you jaded? Have you come across a situation or situations where now you have kind of lost hope in the idea of attaining what you believe with regard to the American dream, that you can have that? Or, what do you think?
Personally, I wouldn't say that I've lost hope, but even though her opinion is respectful, I feel like you should do what makes you happy. If your career makes you happy, do that, and if a family makes you happy, do that. It's not really, I feel like, anybody's place to tell someone else you're focusing on your career is too much, so a man doesn't want you, because I'm pretty sure she's sitting there and has stuff going on behind closed doors in her marriage. So do what makes you happy.
So, okay, now that's a good point. So one of the reasons that I had brought the topic up was because, and I was actually shocked. Now, I don't know, they said, this is what was said. So I'll ask y'all. It's a very easy question. If you are a career-oriented woman and you are intelligent, you've got degrees, you have high intellect, do you feel that, well, I should say this. If you're highly intellectual, intelligent, you have stimulating conversation, you're articulate, whatever, and you are working on your career. Now, as somebody who dibbles and dabbles in multiple things myself, there's a lot of stress that comes along with that, with working out here in this world. And I think T.D. Jakes, while I'm not the biggest fan of T.D. Jakes, I think that, with everybody you have to kind of eat the meat and spit out the bones. He had a sermon where he said, you will be promoted to your level of pain. So the higher you go up, the more stress you have. So to ask a man to not be able to find an intellectual woman that he can communicate with, and she's elevating in her career, and as a result of that, she's getting hit with a lot of stress from the corporate world, dealing with people, dealing with things like just simply unreliability. There are a lot of different things, and have to do that with poise. And she's getting paid decently. what is the compensation for a man who has to sacrifice not being with his wife? Does she share her money with the man for his sacrifice and losing her time? Feel free to speak freely about that. What is the reward? Because when she alluded to him getting with a girl at Wendy's, it's not, her rationale was not about he is wild or enamored. I think that sometimes we hear things differently as men and women. I think that sometimes people will say, he can control the girl at Wendy's. I think that what she was saying very clearly is that, and this is in my opinion as a man, that she got time to be with him. So if he's sacrificing the time for the woman that he wants, that's a high credential woman, high earning woman, what is his benefit for not being able to spend that time with her?
Why isn't he able to spend time with her? Isn't he a high credential man who also doesn't have time, so that they would need to coordinate their schedules to spend time together?
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about, this is tough, right? And it's not fair. But high credential men tend to have more options. Okay? When you walk in that door, you're carrying stress with you that I didn't give you. And I have to be able to absorb that and interpret that. That takes wisdom, patience. You say, why?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would ask the, I was married to a woman who owned a salon, and so.
Why did you get married to her?
I got married to her because I did respect her brain, right? And I also thought that she was attractive too, and she lifted me up. And I actually spent more time with her before we got married. And so there's this adage that men tend to get married hoping that things will stay the same, and women get married hoping that things will change. And I don't know how true that is. So I'm like, okay, this is perfect. And then, so it wasn't an issue of time then. And then it became an issue of time, right? And I'm just like, well, really, at that time, I made enough for the both. She didn't even have to do all that. I wanted to show her a new way to make money, where she didn't have to be so time. You know what I mean? And I just, hey, listen, things happen. This is where we are today. Let's talk about that. But I have experienced it. And then when the discussion about the allocation of such funds, well, if you're not there, what are we going to do about it? Well, no, you still need to pay all the bills. I mean, does that sound very fair? I don't have my wife and I'm paying bills for somebody who is essentially could be building a golden parachute for themselves if things don't work out. How does that feel? I mean, if you had a son, how would you feel if he was in that scenario?
I would tell my son, if he's not happy anymore, he needs to leave her, and he needs to find a woman that they can work together and be a team, and they can, coordinate their time together, where they can work together to mutually benefit each other. I don't feel like any two people should be in a relationship together where it's you're giving more or I'm taking more. Even though relationships aren't always 100, sometimes you take the 80 when a person has 20 and vice versa. But like you said, you thought things were going to be the same.
Yeah.
Aren't anymore. That's your ex-wife.
Right,
So,
right. And I can tell you that.
People make problems for themselves. It's like, what if she did this? Or what if this woman, why should I go for a woman that does this? Don't.
Right, okay. So, if you run at 60 miles an hour, you sometimes are looking for somebody that runs at 60 miles an hour too. That's what makes for evenly yokedness. And Laura could probably understand as well that getting into a marriage and getting out of it's not as idealistically. It sounds very easy, but there's so much. Put it like this: if they made it as hard to get into it as they do to get out of it, you probably could fix a lot of the problems. Now, for the segue, let's go for it. Let's get where we're really trying to go. And I think we can come back to this. If there's a general consensus and agreement that a man should be a husband and a father, are we all on the same page about that? Then we have to also agree that on the other side that a woman should be, if she so desires, a wife and a mother. And I think that people have said this so many times that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And the Obamas are, whether you agree with their policy or not, and I have a lot of policies that I don't agree with them, but I can tell you this, they got to the White House by being a team. You know what I mean? And so there are unimaginable heights that you can see if you work as a team. You know, and it's hard to work as a team. But there's nothing meaningful that you can have in life that's going to be easy. Period. You know what I mean? You got to be committed to the process. So let's get into that. Okay, so with regard to abortion, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the champion of women, have said that, and you can look this up, that there is no constitutional merit for Roe versus Wade. Can you believe that? Now, I definitely believe it, and I know it's true, and it can be looked up. Ruth Bader Ginsburg nor Sandra Day O'Connor was actually on the court in 1973. It was an all-male court that decided Roe versus Wade. Ironically, because Reagan appointed Sandra Day O'Connor in 1981. Ironically, that court that just overturned Roe versus Wade had women on it. What issues, and we can circle back to rape, incest, and sex trafficking. What issues do you guys have with? Now listen, I want to preface this by saying this because I don't want to put you in an unfair position. I believe that God gives man free choice, and I don't believe that man has the right to take that away from man. If God gives man free will, then man can't take it back because God has already given it. Now, do I think that it's right? That's something completely different. All right, you know what I mean? Do I think that it's I think that sometimes we can't see past the hurdle in front of us. In my particular case, when they thought that I needed an organ transplant, I've got a slew of brothers. I mean, it's a whole village of us. The only match is my 17-year-old daughter. Did I know that when she was born? No, I didn't. So you cut a fruit open, you know, you open it up, it's got seeds in it, and it's everything that's within that fruit is there to preserve it and the life of that species going forward. That's the way God set it up. What issues do you have, if any, with women being forced to have an abortion? Or being forced to carry a child that they don't want to?
I feel like it's not fair to us.
Sure.
It's our body, and we should be able to do what we want to with our body. I think that even though some people use it as birth control, it's still their choice to do what they want to do. I think what the courts aren't looking at is that even though they overturned it, it doesn't mean that the women aren't going to do it. It doesn't mean that the 13-year-old won't try to take a coat hanger to herself or drink bleach or something to get rid of what's inside of her. That
could harm her or permanently leave her in a position where she cannot have children when she wants to.
When she wants to have it. So I think that this was a mistake because they're not looking past whatever agenda whoever has.
All right. Yeah, I was just going to say, well, what do you think all right, 38% of so the Pew Research Center, a nonpartisan fact tank out of Washington, D.C., your neck of the woods, included data from D.C., from District of Columbia, in 29 states. And the reason it was 29 states because these are 29 states that actually report racial and ethnic data when it comes to abortions, have black babies aborted at 38%, which is the highest of all babies. Additionally, white 33%, Hispanic 21%, and 7% other. We can get back to conspiratorial issues later, but I tend to believe that that whites were the majority at one point in time, and that is beginning to change. And I believe that the modus operandi behind this is to compel white women to have more children. In fact, I think that if they can find a way for black women to continue to abort babies, I don't think black women really have nothing to worry about, to be honest with you. I think they're going to find a way for black women to continue to have black babies. I think they're going to find a way for guns to get into our communities, even though we're highly felon-based. I think we're going to find ways for dope from Asia and from South America to get into our communities. I think they're going to give us the proverbial smoking gun to kill ourselves. I don't think that at the crux of the decision, the intent behind it was to protect black lives, if you want me to be quite honest with you. However, the law could present some issues where there's collateral damage. Right? So let's deal with it from that standpoint. There's people who argue and ask, okay, when does pro-choice people say, well, when does life actually begin? And you know this not just by the question, when does life begin? Because they actually limit a fetus to a noun that is not a person or place. It is a thing. They will literally say, get rid of it. Okay? Right? Get rid of it. So there's a terminology within our cultural nomenclature that suggests that it is an it. Right? So we have some people that say it is a life, it isn't a life. The other thing is that there are people who are going to say, and this is where I need you guys' help, that will say, well, pro-choice, does the choice begin after you get pregnant, or does the choice begin before you decide to lay down with somebody? That's the tough question. Which one is the choice? Or are they both choices? Is one choice and a correction on the previous choice? I'll tell you what, we can come back to that. Right. So you see where this is going. You see that there's a school of thought out there that said, well, the choice should have been made before you... Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Wherever you want. The choice should have been... This is my brother, by the way.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Yeah. The choice should have been made before you decide to lay down. I've heard people say that things happen. Well, if it's forceful, then it's a crime. So we've already established that there is something that should be done about that. And in the state of Georgia, as the abortion laws have not been completely I don't want to say explained, but completely the abortion laws here have not been completely defined. We may have a chance to lobby for things such as if a woman's life is in danger, if she goes through birth defects, where is it at? I had written it down. Yes, rape, safety something, birth defect, anything that could harm the child not have a normal life, the mother potentially dying by giving birth, and anything that would be criminal. because they haven't been defined yet, so we do have an opportunity to lobby. But we can't lobby if we don't have discussions. Right? You know what I mean? So, with regard to that, I'm just curious. I mean, Justice, I'm sorry you got here when you got here, but and thank you for coming. We were just having a discussion about abortion and what issues, if any, and you're not going to be able to really lend a whole lot of leeway to this.
I'm not gonna what?
Be able to lend a lot of leeway to the discussion. How do you feel about abortion, Justin?
Ultimately, I do believe it's a woman's choice. There's a little bit of it that I could see the argument for how some of it could be potentially inhumane. But ultimately, it is a woman's choice.
Okay. All right. Well, there's another
They
part
have
of
to carry it for 9 months. I mean, and obviously it takes a man to help a woman create a baby, right? So do I think that
Should the man also
have
be?
some say so? Do I think a man should have some say so? Definitely, but how much is the question? I mean,
What do y'all think? Should the man have some say so?
if he wants to be in
No
the,
comment.
if he wants to be in the baby's life, I would potentially. I mean,
Would you even listen to what he has to say? Not saying that you would do it, but would you hear him out? Pash.
No comment.
Okay, Laura.
So I had a beautiful, beautiful chocolate baby, and I had real hard time with him the whole time. My body was shutting down. So the doctor came in when he was going to give me a cesarean, and he asked my husband, if it comes between the baby and your wife, what do you want me to do? I'm not paying attention to my husband. I'm saying, you're going to save this baby. What are you talking about? My husband said, you're going to save my wife.
I mean, knee jerk. That's what I would say too.
So
Mhm.
then I said, because I had a lot of problems, I want to have my tubes tied. I don't want to go through this life-threatening. It's life-threatening to have a baby anyway.
It is,
Very
yes.
risky for me to even have a child. So I said I wanted to have my tubes tied. My husband said no. I couldn't get my tubes tied.
Okay.
Okay.
Why so exactly?
Because the husband has to agree for me to get my tubes tied.
Okay.
At that point, I felt like I was an indentured servant, somebody's child, that I didn't have say so over my own body. This is my body. Yes, I married this man, but it's my body. I should have say so over my body. Now, on the other hand, he did say, babe, what if this child doesn't make it? We're not going to have any children. He did explain himself. I'm in labor. I don't give two flying circus people.
You can say what you want to say here.
What?
This internet.
I
Mhm.
know, but I got grandbabies, so
Okay.
be nice. So
I wouldn't. You don't look like a grandma. Go ahead.
3 or 4, yeah. Anyway, so I felt like, he shouldn't have say so over my body. I should be able to make my own decisions. But when you get married, it's 2. It's really 1. And the man is the head. And they gave the head the decision of what, of what to do with my life. I was not happy about it. Not at all.
I can understand that. I have a 17-year-old daughter. Listen, I understand. Okay. All right. Again, I had women who wanted to be on this show who were aggressive about being on this show. They are not here. Why is the man the head? I think we have to ask that question. I have experienced in my life, I can't speak for every man, I can't speak for every woman, that women say things emotionally at the moment and then change their mind the next day. Okay? Men are pretty much straight line all the way through. That's been my experience. Now, of course, I wasn't married to you. I may probably have said, I don't think that that's a good idea. However, I can make sure that in the meantime, you don't get pregnant. I'll do what I have to do to ensure that. However, you might feel differently in a year or two. You might be you know what I mean? It might be your kid may say, I want a brother, or I want a sister, I want a sibling. Listen, we're human beings. You know, I got a divorce that I'd never get married again. Said it. Never. Never. I mean, never. Under no circumstances. But then, I got to thinking. You know, the chronological order of my life has been one that sometimes I suffer a loss, and then right after that I get a big win. So why not? You know what I mean?
We did do a compromise.
Okay, what was that?
He got a vasectomy.
Awesome.
Well, shit, that's really the same.
First discussion.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
Can you unvasectomize a man?
Yes, and it's easier.
Oh, okay, all right. Well,
Surgery is less risky for a man to get a vasectomy.
That's what he did. He said, I'll get it.
okay, so we're in agreement.
Back day is 48 hours.
All right, okay, got it. Now, okay, well, y'all taught me something. I'm glad I had y'all here. So we're in agreement with that. 100% agreement. We're in agreement. The question I have for y'all, and this is a big question. This is Mondo. This is big time. I think that generally we believe. Thanks, Andre. I think generally we believe that women shouldn't be forced to do anything they don't want to do, right? Or human beings in general. Doctors shouldn't be forced to not do things or risk their license or be put in jail. So you agree women shouldn't be put in jail if they have an abortion?
I don't think they should.
What about you, Pash? You don't think if they do it and they're caught doing it, should they go to jail?
No.
What about the doctors? Should they go to jail or lose their license to practice?
No.
Okay.
They went to school and paid all this money to do something that now they can't do.
Right. So with that, now, and that's a good point. So the woman has decided, hey, look, it's her choice. She wants to have a child, or she does not want to have the child. If the man doesn't want to have the child and the woman decides to have the child, should the man go to jail for not paying child support?
No. I'm sorry. I'm very compassionate about that. It's a choice for all of us. And if you decide to have that baby and they say they don't want anything to do with it, and they're saying they don't want the baby, then why would you do that?
Well, I would say, based off of your logic, if the woman can make the decision and she shouldn't go to jail, if the doctor can do it and they shouldn't go to jail, would you like to hear the numbers of men that are locked up for child support related issues?
Oh,
Okay, all right.
I feel like the child, I mean, you're making a man regret the child. You know?
What is the reality or the likelihood that a man could go? That was a very good response. Pash, I didn't get yours. Did you have a response on that?
Oh, no, I don't feel like that. I do feel like, if I put myself in a man's shoes, if I, as a man, tell you that I'm not going to take care of this kid, and you have this kid, why are you having that kid?
Okay. Because you can do it if you want to, but you can make it, believe it or not. Now, let me say something. So wow, that is good. That was good. That was big of y'all. Okay, so here's my point in saying that. The likelihood of a man going 18 years with not 1 year of financial difficulty is very unlikely. And so the numbers are to the tune of prison and jail incarceration, somewhere around 880,000. It's over 1 million if you include those who are under court supervision. And what I'm saying is that that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of stress to come up with money in a changing economy. I know women whose sons live with them because they cannot afford to pay child support and pay for their own place. If they cannot afford child support and pay for their own place, it's not likely they're dating either, unless they have found a really understanding woman. So the man's life has changed dramatically too, and that's the thing that people don't talk about. Not to mention, now that's just for child support. That doesn't include, because when I went and did the research to try to find the number of suspended licenses, the number of suspended licenses has no delineation for what is a suspended license based off of a child support related matter. So I cannot properly quantify that. But if you live here in Atlanta in a decrepit public transportation city, you're going to have to risk it and drive. You're going to have to drive a long way. What part of town you stay on, Pash?
In the Roswell, Alpharetta area.
What part of town? Did you say Lithonia? How long did it take you to get here?
30, 45 minutes.
How long did it take you to get here?
About the same.
Okay, yeah. I live in Gwinnett, so I'm just saying. It was definitely the same. I mean, so you can't get to anywhere in Atlanta close, and if you've got a job and you've got to commute, God help you.
It's 2 hours.
You just are sitting, daily. You just, it's sitting duck. It's just any day that tag gonna be ran. You know what I mean? And so that's if everything goes well. That's if the child doesn't get sick. There's a number of other variables that we're not including. That's if the mother never ever. If he's non-custodial, that's if the mother never takes a vacation. Look, man, this is a lot of stuff we're talking about here. You know what I mean? And so, solution-wise, I think that we just have to be. I think that we could solve a lot of our problems by being just more selective. But then, to your point, Laura, how can we do that if we don't know what we're looking for? You can't just turn on Family Matters or. What was the other one? What was it? Let's see. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It don't work like that. Not mine. Actually, it never really worked like that. That was a farce from the get-go. You know, and so.
The problem is that we were never taught. In our generation, in my mom's generation, generations down, we were taught that our men were taken out of the house, whether it was in slavery, whether he was a breeder, so they were just breeding him with the other slave women to make the workers make big bucks, and we had to take care of the children ourselves, and we're left with them. We're used to that. That's what we've known since we hit this country, this land, is that the man is out of the house and the women take care of the children. That's all we know. So from there, in the 70s, welfare, food stamps, you couldn't have a man in the house with food if you got food stamps. He couldn't be working and trying to make it or going to school. He made a mistake. We didn't talk about sex education back.
Right, because religiously it was just abstain.
You just don't do it.
Right, which is not realistic.
Right.
Yeah,
So throughout our history, we know that we have babies and the women take care of them. The men know that they don't have to stay, because they didn't see their fathers staying. So how can you penalize a whole race of people that don't know? We did know. Now you're trying to get it together. You know how long it takes to get your reputation back. It takes far longer.
But you can destroy it overnight. Yeah, exactly. Well, I believe that the solutions for our community lie within the community, and it has to be, as far as the black community goes, it has to be grassroots. And anything other than that is just, is uneducated thinking because the government is not going to do it. Can we lobby the government to do things in exchange for something? So I work with the GOP. I think I made that clear yesterday. We are uniquely in a position where Georgia is a purple state. And the GOP needs some things from us. That's how they work. They're business people. They will help us if we can help them. People say, well, no, they won't do that. Well, I'm in the meetings, so I know what we're talking about. And I'm saying that to say, with the power of the pen, we can do some things that will cut us loose from the government's hold. You know what I mean? If you keep feeding the damn chicken, it will continue to look down to pick up the food. It will never pick its head up. You know, and I think that assistance at best should be finite. There should not be generational Section 8. There should never be any system. I think that we need to be put in a situation where the only way that we get out of this hole is if we help each other. Where government where? And the GOP actually agrees with that. That we should pull those dollars out for these social programs, and we can put them into other government areas like teachers, hiring good police officers, things like vocational schools, right? That are avenues. And when I say vocational schools, I don't mean like vocational colleges. I mean vocational high schools, which is a form of, education to a degree is a form of reparations when you get a trade, you know. Something that people can automatically get into the workforce and begin to make a living for themselves. You know what I mean? And then this will help us in the interim where people don't have to worry about, because these vocational high schools that we're proposing will have daycares in them, right? You know, so now we can begin to eliminate that cost. And guess what? Because it's federally funded, it's public school. So now we don't have tuition. Things that these are self-help things, because you have to understand when we start talking about the GOP, we have to talk about things that their nomenclature, things like self-help. Let's take federal dollars, put them here, and this will create a self-help avenue for people where they're not constantly dependent on it. Things like they can now we don't have to worry about application fees to college. We don't have to worry about student debt and loans and things of that nature. And they can be a viable part of society. And so when I start arguing about school to prison pipeline, I can say to them, listen, give them a chance to learn a vocation, HVAC, give them a chance to become an LPN out of high school. And then if they so desire, then they can go and get their RN or whatever. And now what you can do is they become a viable part of society, and you can tax them instead of putting them in prison and making money off of them in prison. At the same time, if they're a working part of society, you can grow GDP for the state. You understand what I'm saying? Which is something that we couldn't typically do if we're making money off of the body count with them being in prison. So we have to be able to talk in language. We have to be culturally ambidextrous enough to know the language of the people that we're working with and give them something, because what in actuality has actually happened is that what Dr. King said a long time ago, and I'll let y'all get a final thought and we'll cut it, and was that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So now these young men and individuals who are the spawn of fatherless homes have now become their problem, and they know that. You know the most dangerous mall in America? Not Lenox Mall. Think about it. Not South DeKalb, not Greenbrier. Lenox. They right there. Lenox and Phipps Plaza. All right, so any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, just ultimately as it pertains to the topic, I mean, again, I think ultimately it's a woman's choice. You know, it's her body. But I do see there is a level of some of it can be seen as inhumane.
Anything?
In closing, I would like to say I don't think it is anyone's choice or really right to make a choice about someone else's body. I also don't think it's the government's responsibility to pay for your child or pay for your living situation if that is what you decide to do. Or if you decide to get an abortion, I don't think that right should be taken away. But I don't think it's the government's responsibility either to pay for that. So,
Good. Miss Laura.
I think that we need to take a second look at this because of the danger and the risk. Because I think we're going to have more risk with self-abortions like we used to have, and we're going to lose some lives from it because they don't want the children. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board with this.
Sounds good. Okay, all right, we are out, man. East Point, smoke some dank.
Protect your peace.
always stay happy.
That's it.